this is my I am stepping out. I'm not someone who has been a whole lot, what I would say, in the public eye for various reasons and choices. But my whole life, I've really been privileged to do what I love and love what I do. And it's been my dharma, I finally figured out, to be able to work with individuals who have trauma, they have learning issues, and they have really amazing, unique stories. And they have trusted me, and that has made all the difference in the world. My background is I had a spiritual journey. I still have a spiritual journey for about 13, 14 years with a spiritual teacher by the name of Saima Lakshmi Devi. And what brings me here is that she's always saying, say yes. Say yes to the call within yourself and say yes to the people that are calling you. And so what happened is a mother of a child who is adopted, a little boy, came in my office, and we were privileged to work with him. And she is a SPED teacher, her background is special education, and she is an adopted mother of an adopted child. And she looked at me, and Nancy isn't here tonight because she has 2 adult children and she needs to address their needs also. But she said, you've got to start talking, you've got to start getting out there, you have to do something. Because it pertains not just to the children, but it pertains to the adults, and it pertains to the parents who are not adopted, but who are adopting a child. Because there are some significant factors that get overlooked. And so here I am, Nancy, and it's exciting. You know, what do I say? It's exciting and it's scary and it's all those things. Okay, I want to let you know, all right, first of all, I am healthy, perfectly healthy. I went to the Mahakumbh, which was in India, or is in India, and I did what you call a mundan. And a mundan is when you make a decision to shave your head. Now, for a woman, we all know how special our hair is to us. It's really precious. And the reason why you shave your head is for that very reason. To be able to go and realize what it's like to let go of all that which has been on you. I'm not going to say how long it's been on me, but I am going to let you know that it was really something. And in that experience of the mundan, it became really clear, all right, that I have to do this. I have to write the book. I have to be able to communicate and share and open into the beauty that is to be learned and growth when somebody takes something that is really significant, really scary, really hard, and turns it into wisdom and understanding. And it can be done. My background, you know, as Marnie said, I was a SPED teacher, but what really caused me to follow this journey was way back in 1982. I was in the process of an MFT intern, and I was close to getting my license. And I was fortunate to have one of my students in my class want to do therapy with me. I had been with Julie for about 4 months, and it was tragic. She was really having a difficult time with her family, with her parents. And then one day I'm searching, I'm questioning, and she looked at me and she goes, Madeline, you know I'm adopted. And I went, oh my gosh, how did I miss this? And all of a sudden, that puzzle piece was the missing link. And I looked at her, and everything changed. But at that time, we didn't pay attention to adoption. Adoption didn't come up. We weren't trained. I mean, I went to a really good school. I had all kinds of training in special ed, all kinds of training in therapy. They didn't bring up adoption. They did not bring up the fact that that separation causes trauma. And it's a very different trauma than the trauma that you have in other kinds of trauma. And that's the factor. That's what hit me. Now, I didn't know then about all the aspects of energy. I just understood that there was a gaping gap because of of how babies are born, they're connected, and that disconnect, whether that disconnect is when they're infants, or whether that disconnect is when they're 2 years old, 3 years old, adult, it's still a primal disconnect that we have to address, but it doesn't get addressed. And I'm not so sure it gets addressed a whole lot right now, even in therapy. Okay? I mean, it's a big factor. So before I get ahead of myself, I should pay attention to my notes, right? So the one child, she looks at me, and that changed my trajectory. Because I never forgot to ask after that, are you adopted? And lo and behold, the fact is that the issue of adoption, the issue of that early abandonment or late abandonment is a primal wound. And I know there's a book out about that. But there is a way to deal and to address that trauma that is important, that we have to start considering in therapy, when you're looking at yourself. Hi, Marilyn. It's nice to see you. Okay, I couldn't resist. I know. All right. Because one of the things that I want to do is take the concept of adoption and look at it as in many ways, a universal human experience that is going on that we don't pay attention to, because we are seeing children being abandoned and separated over and over again. And until we really understand the difference that causes, then the there's no typical trauma, but trauma, then we're going to be in really remiss and in trouble. So what I do want to know, and I need to know, is just a show of hands. It would really help me. First of all, how many of you in here are adopted? Okay, all right. How many of you are parents of adopted children? Oh, wow. Okay, thank you. And I think I'm going to ask, that's it. And is there anyone in here that gave their child up for adoption? Okay, thank you. Because all of that is very similar in terms of when you're talking about the energy, that feeling of abandonment, that feeling of loss. I'm not adopted. I haven't adopted a child, all right? I have a cousin who is adopted. She's 25 years younger than me. She's my godchild. And the issue was, I come from an Italian family. You come into the family, you are part of the family. There was no noticing that Lori was really adopted. We didn't pay attention. That wasn't it, because she was us. And yet, as she grew up, and she went through her adolescence and those years, she began to communicate and let us know, no, there is a difference. And she needed to find, as best as she could, her birth family and so forth. But she is still our family. And she has all the quirks and all the style that goes with our Italian family. And that, if you're not Italian, it's just the way it is. You come in and you're part of the clan. That is just it. So I want you to know that my credibility comes from the fact of being a therapist and listening for hours and hours and hours, and searching and understanding new and different methods that allow for the healing of that abandonment trauma. How I look at things is that emotions are energy in motion. That's really what I see it to be, all right? And as far as I'm concerned, everything is energetic. We're in this room today, and this is an energy. We have got a whole vortex here, communication, the words that I'm using, the way you're sitting, all of that is energy. And it's all part of our mind, our body, and our spirit, our vibration. But we have to take our own personal ownership for our energy. Ultimately, that is the bottom line. That's what happens here. And the fact is, energy can't be destroyed. It can only be transmuted. So when we're working with energy, we can't just throw it away and say, I want to get rid of that emotion, because it'll come back really hard and it'll sting you. So you have to learn how to transmute it, how to change it. And so that's what we're going to learn or talk about, a couple of methods tonight. All right, we're going to try something. All right, I'm going to ask you to stand up, and we're going to make a huge circle, and we're going to see how this works, because we haven't used this many people with these sticks. All right, here, you're going to take this piece. All right, you're going to take that piece. All right, now everybody take each other's hands. Take your hands. Let's see. Is it doing it? Are we all together? Okay, no, you got to put it on the end here. Just the end. Touch the end, like this here. There, hold that part. No, you got to put your hand on this. These just the metal part. Yeah, just the metal. Let's see if this will work. We're starting. We're seeing it, but it's not. It's almost working. All right, it's almost. So let's try this. Let's try this. Let's take it, this group here. Let's break you down, and let's see it. Yeah, hold it. There. There. Okay, you guys. Let's. Hi, sweetie. Hi. Okay, it's okay. She's okay. Here, let's take your hands, and let's go over here, and see if this works. There. Okay, you guys. Let's see if this group will take. Let's see if this group will take. There we go. Okay, we blew the circuits, you guys. That was the problem. We blew the circuits. Now, the reason why we're doing this is we're all energetically connected. That's what this is all about. Our electrical system is monitoring, is making that work. That's exactly it. So when, that's right, you got the power. That's it. That is it. Does that make sense? So you're all part of it. You're all part of the system. And wherever you go, this is what's happening. You're part of an energetic system. Your children are part of an energetic system. That's right. He knows that. Okay, everybody's part of an. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah. See? Isn't that amazing?
So if you take your hands away, it's not going to work. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Does that make sense? Yeah. Put it. You can do. Yeah. Watch. All right. So here, now put your two hands on it. There. That's your energetic. You formed a loop. Your energetic system. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So you do. Well, you know this already. She knows this. She got. So that what I wanted to do is just show the energetic process, because it'll dovetail with what I'm going to say. All right? You want to try it, Jenny? Put your hands on it. There. You got it. See? That's your energetic system. You want to try it with the dog?
Oh, she's more safe.
Oh my
There you go.
goodness,
Yeah.
that is crazy.
Yeah. No, because she's an energy. The dog is your energetic system. Think about how sensitive they are. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that great? Great. You know, we're an emotional bundle of energy, really, and the only thing is you can't see it until a person is in a state of demonstrating their emotion. But I think it was really important that you realize and you get a feel for that to conquer. There's no such a word as concretize, but I just made it up. To make it so that it's really concrete and it's visceral. I want you to just close your eyes, and please don't make it a huge, impactful thing. Keep it kind of relatively small, but think of and feel something that is fearful for you. Something that brings fear. Just feel it for a moment. And become aware of what you're noticing. What's your awareness? What's that fear feel like? So open your eyes, and did any of your bodies feel more constricted? Did you feel more rigid? Did you go into anything of confusion or blame or any of those? Or some of them that I don't even have up there, but that you experienced that caused you to get tight? Constriction. Every single one of us are neurologically wired that when we go into a state of fear, we're going to get constricted. That constriction includes our body, our mind, and our spirit. So anytime we go into that fear, we have a state of generally of being externally locus of control. Because we're not really in control when we're in fear. We think we are. I see a lot of kids that believe they are, adults or children. It doesn't matter. When they go into fear, that's an external locus of control. I'm not inside myself. I'm not in a state of being balanced. I'm not in a state where my system is organized. You're going to get all these slides. So, you're going to get them. So what I'd like you to do is now close your eyes again. Now go into a state of something that allows you to feel love. And allow it to feel it in your system. And notice what that's like for you. And so open your eyes and allow yourself to look up there. And when you're feeling that love, did you feel more expanded? That love is an internal locus of control. You're internally in your system because you have access to your body, your mind, and your spirit all in one. So you're much more flexible. You can think better. You can move better. You are able to have what we call discernment, which is different than judgment. Discernment is being able to see the situation and allow yourself, even if it's a choice you don't really prefer to make, you make that choice because it's the best possible choice. Judgment, you're blaming, you're confusing, it's external. Discernment is in you. So allowing you to have the feelings, those emotions which are energy and motion that are in a love state, allow you to have greater access to being able to release those emotions that are significant to you. So we're going to talk about that. The thing that happens for all of us is that we get into what we call energetic patterns. And sometimes those patterns are just unconscious. We just get into a pattern. We don't know we're in it. And that pattern, though we may think it's helping us, very well may not be, because it's a pattern that's based upon fear. When we're in a state of fear, we really can't allow ourselves to care about ourselves enough or be in a state of coherence or alignment to be able to really look and see what's really going out there. We become more reactive. Now you're saying, well, we know all of this. This maybe isn't necessarily such new information. The issue of the abandonment trauma, what happens is it ends up being relived over and over again in some of the most subtle, insidious ways. And then when you start noticing that your system is tight, is in a state of fear, there are methods, there are ways to release in the moment. Maybe not completely take care of the abandonment issue completely, but you get out of the pattern. And that's where change can happen. That's where discernment can happen. That's where clarity comes in. And when you're allowing yourself to do that, that's like a gift to yourself. And that's really, really important, because that gift allows you to heal. Yeah, you have a question?
Well, you could add peace to that.
Absolutely. Oh, this list, please. This list is not complete. First of all, I didn't have enough space. And second of all, you know what? The reality is learning how to look at your own fear and look at your own love. Just allow yourself in those quiet moments when you don't want to share all the stuff because it's too revealing and it becomes too vulnerable, you can share it with yourself. But that is a reality. You're absolutely correct. There are so many, worthy, unworthy. I mean, worthiness is a huge issue in adoption. I mean, it's primal. But thank you. Yes, absolutely. So if you are really, really stuck energetically, we're going to take a look, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this. Next slide. And put this up here. So what happens is that because emotions are energy, energy is fluid. It's when the energy gets stuck that we really have issues. We go into panic, we go into emotional loops, our bodies become ill, we become fatigued, we become tired, or some dis-ease can occur in our system. So when you're moving from a fear to a love state, you are allowing yourself to go into, and the first thing is to at least be aware. Allow yourself to be aware of what's going on. And that does take personal honesty. It takes a personal vulnerability. Because in that awareness, you're beginning to notice. You begin to notice how your body is feeling. I'm going to go to somatic a lot because the body keeps the score. It's the body that has our information in it. And that's where we have to go. Sometimes our minds are saying one thing and our body is saying something else. And where the truth is going to be, from what I have seen, is in the body. So you're noticing it. No matter how challenging it is, and believe me, I do realize it's challenging, we have to accept what we are feeling without judging ourselves. It's not good, it's not bad, it's not right, it's not wrong. The fact of the matter, we have to stop judging, because in the judgment, we get into the shoulds, the shouldn'ts, the coulds, the couldn'ts, and we lose sight of the fact that all emotions are just an emotion. They're just an energy in motion. And when we as people begin to place blame and shame or judgment, we lose sight of what is the communication our body is trying to let us know, and what are we really there for. So we're there to go into a state of love, because that's where our healing is going to be. So when you're in the methods, you've got to be able to breathe. You go to breathing. You go to also, you're going to go and learn about tapping and being able to put that together. You're going to understand that sound is really important. Why do we use music? All cultures have music. They all bring movement to it. Why? Because it releases through the body that pain, that's not digested really. And it allows us to move through it. Language, the words you choose, the words I choose, the words we choose to ourselves, the words we choose to others, go to our nerves. They leave an imprint on us. The tone of voice that's used. You know, one of the things that I learned is that sarcasm is not a good method to use with individuals that are adopted or kids that have learning issues. You don't use sarcasm. You don't, because embedded in sarcasm is anger. And they don't pick it up. How can they? Because they're basically in a state of trauma. They're in a state of fear. They're in a state of saying, am I safe or am I not safe? And even if I'm feeling safe, okay, am I really clear about it? Are you really going to be there? So we don't use sarcasm. And we really we have to start having, and part of it is family education. And the education isn't just out of a book. You know, we don't have good books on how to help people understand emotional flow, emotional communication, emotional presence. That's a big factor. When kids come into my office and they're looking at me, they're judging me. They're judging me. They're checking me out. They're checking out this, and their noses and everything. And parents are going, please don't go there. Don't. No, you kids can go wherever you need to go, because you've got to know that this place is okay. The only place they're not allowed to go is on my computer. I mean, you know, there are certain boundaries. But that is because they've got to know by their sensing that, okay, you're going to accept me as I am. Even if I throw a big tantrum in your office and I can, smash the garbage can and do some of those other things. It doesn't mean you're not going to set boundaries, but you're not going to go into a state of demeaning them or telling them they were bad and they don't belong and this isn't right. You just don't do it. We have a tendency of doing that, though, because we don't know how to handle some of those big, big emotions that come up. We don't know how to handle our own big emotions because we get scared. I want to take a moment, and I just want to check. I tell you, I'm not doing this in sequence at all, but is this resonating with any of you? Is it making sense to you?
Yes.
Is it touching that part that says there's always hope, and each of us, no matter what our age is, we can change. We can take that step that next day or that next time and do it in a way that is a little bit more compatible and communicative and healing and resonance with whomever we're around. And right now, it's how to bring, for those children, and maybe yourselves, how to help this wound. Because it is a wound. It is in our cells of our bodies. That is something I firmly believe. And science is starting to really communicate about that more in terms of how the cells remember and how they change and what happens in our brains and what is laid down from in utero from the neurophysiology. So when we take an adopted child, and sometimes, yes, it's necessary. Sometimes they're, taken and the mother may not want to give up the child. That energy is felt in the cells of the body. It is resonating there. And that memory is the memories that we have to acknowledge and we have to address, because that memory is pre-verbal. Because babies, they function by olfactory, they function by gustatory, and they function by their somatic. So what they smell, what they taste, and what they feel on their body, that's their connection. That's what we love about babies. That's their connection. They don't have words for it. So we have to give people a language to be able to manage it and to understand. And I'm not going into language today. I'm not going into any of that. But I will communicate about that in the book or another time. So what I want to do is now we're going to do an exercise. I'm going to go through the exercise with you first, and then we're going to do it. Okay. So this is a method. This is a method we use in the office. I have all the fancy words up here, but I don't do that when I'm necessarily talking to the little kids. But they do this. They can do it. And the reason why we do it is a simultaneous method, because what it allows is to, calm your parasympathetic system. It allows for that thalamus and for that amygdala that were overactivated a long time ago to be addressed and to be calmed down. So you're able then to engage that part of yourself that brings you back into love, and it brings you back into heart. So you can have discernment, you can have communication, you can have the ability to reduce the strong emotion or the irritation that is happening. When we're breathing, the breath, we need to breathe. It's it's life, all right? What we do, sometimes we do a breathing that's called 4-4-4, but in this situation, because you exhale longer, you're going to allow the system to be in a much more calmer state faster if you exhale a couple of more counts than you inhale. And you breathe in through your nose and you relax through your mouth so your teeth aren't together. You allow your jaw to stay open, because this TMJ area, if it locks, you're in a state of tight tension. We all have had that. I don't know if anybody else in here has TMJ, but I know what that's like. So I'm saying you open it, and it's like just a natural relaxation. We have to use I statements. We take ownership. So if we're having a negative situation, a fear-based situation, we take I statements and we make those I statements into positive statements. Now, I am not asking you to believe that statement. I really don't care if you believe the statement or not. Just saying the statement. Your body, your brain, is going to react to it. And you can even say it. I mean, I've seen individuals where they're really angry, and we'll be saying it with them, and I'm saying it in a calmer way, and they're angry, they're ticked off. I really appreciate myself. Okay? I don't care how they're saying it. They just have to get the words out, because the pattern in them is to really go to, I hate myself, I don't like myself, I'm not any good, I can't succeed, and all those negatives. So saying something positive in their system is foreign. It's like working with a kid that he's practiced no really well. He knows no really well. You look at him and you go, can you say yes, no? Okay, let's try it again. Let's try this differently. I say yes. I say yes. And it's like he's looking and he's going, are you okay? I don't want to say yes. I know you don't want to say yes, but let's try yes. And then, act it out. But it's to change that pattern. It's to change that belief system. Let yourself start that. So you go on, you focus, and you have to focus on your heart space, because the heart is the most powerful organ we've got. And the heart connects with all that energy much better than the mind does. And that heart allows us to begin to really start calming down and opening up. And start maybe just a little bit loving myself. I am worthy. I appreciate myself. And it doesn't matter what you did. That's the key. It doesn't matter. And then the thymus tapping. You got to tap on the breastbone. All right? All right, because what it does is it stimulates the vagus nerve. Okay, now the vagus nerve, and this is scientific, this is neurologically verified, all right? The vagus nerve is the longest nerve we got in our body. And the vagus nerve goes clear down into what I call our belly or your diaphragm, and it goes all the way up past the heart, all the way up to the thymus, and in part of the amygdala. And when you tap on this vagus nerve and you're doing the breathing and you're making a statement, your system can't help itself but calm down eventually. You have to stay with it, especially if it's really an intense emotion. Because the body wants to. That subconscious mind in the body really wants to get rid of that pain. The body wants to be in joy. It wants to be in laughter. It wants to be in what I would call light and fun. We just get stuck. And then we don't know how to help ourselves. This is a method. It works. I had a mom, a doctor, whom I was working with her daughter, and we were working on anxiety. And she wasn't real big on all this stuff, but it was working for her daughter. She was a doctor, what do you want? So she was, though, on a plane coming back from a major conference. And I don't know what happened. She didn't tell me, but she said I was sitting in my airplane seat sobbing. She said it just came on. I just started sobbing and sobbing. And she said, okay, I'm going to do some tapping. Madeline, blah, blah, blah. And then she comes in and she says, I have to tell you, it worked. It worked. It took me 5-6 minutes, she said, but I got myself and I felt so much better. I'm not making this up. This is neurophysiological stuff, okay? And we don't, there's all kinds of tapping out there. Keep it simple. Just let's keep it simple, because we want to, in the moment, change. Change that fear state and go to a love state where we have more and greater internal locus of control, rather than being in a state of fear and externalizing and not really having a sense of control. Make sense? Are there any questions? Any comments you want to make, people? Any of you? I never do. Yes?
I've tried this many a time, and been in treatment for quite some time, and this vagus nerve, it's an incredible experience, personally to me. I've also done something called breath work as well, where you
Should I give him
a repetitive breathing method, and if you do it properly, it can put you into this trance.
Okay, we're not going there.
Almost, it feels like you're separated from your body.
Okay, we're not going to go there. That's exactly what we don't want to do. Okay, no, we don't. I want you to, the point of this, what you're saying is all true.
Okay.
And it serves a purpose.
Okay.
It really does. I'm not negating. Everything you've said is absolutely true. Yes. And there are all different kinds of breath work. And some breath work, people have said, yes, the breath work takes them to amazing, amazing places and spaces. I am not denying that. So thank you for your comment, and you're absolutely valid. That is not what we're doing here. We're doing this to stay in the moment. We're doing this when you get triggered. I mean, it's to allow yourself to have a tool that in this moment, within 1 to 3, 4, 5 minutes, you're back into a state of being in what do you call it? My brain just homeostasis, but it's alignment. You're in a complete alignment, because that's the only thing you can do. Because that's the reason why. That's what this is. So we're gonna go through this process. All right, we're gonna play with it a little bit, if you would like to, and allow yourself to at least have an experience of this, so that you understand a little bit about what I'm talking about here, and what it feels like from a somatic sense. Because if you can feel it in your body, you're going to remember it, even if you don't remember the words. Think of something, and please, whatever you do, don't make it on a scale of 10, okay? But think of something that is bothersome or irritating or disturbing and uncomfortable. And so I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. Open your eyes for a minute. Let me make sure everybody understands something. Do you know where your thymus is? It's right here. It's right here. So you're gonna. I got to be careful with this mic, but that's what you're going to do. And you've got to feel the breastbone, because what you're really doing, I guess I should explain that. It's bone conductivity. When you're doing the thymus tapping, you're dealing with bone conductivity. The emotions are held in your bones. They're held in your bones. They're held in your ligaments. They're held in the muscle. So when you're tapping, it does bone conductivity, and it travels throughout your whole body. That's the reason why you're doing the tapping. And you're tapping the thymus because, as I said, it connects to the vagus nerve. So we're going to close our eyes. Allow yourself to have a thought. And we're going to count. If you want, count for you. You're going to start tapping on the thymus. Let yourself do that. You're going to breathe in, 2, 3, 4, You're going to exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you're going to make a statement now. You're going to start your statement, and your statement can be, I am worthy, I appreciate myself, I love myself, and you're going to continue tapping and breathing, and allow yourself to feel in the silence of your heart space. And begin to notice, relaxing your jaw and your mouth, allowing your eyes to be soft in the sockets. And appreciate yourself, because I really appreciate you, each of you, for doing this. And you can stop tapping and open your eyes. So can you feel the difference? Does anyone want to share what they felt? What it was like?
The emergence of a peaceful feeling.
Okay.
Suffused my whole body.
You felt peaceful, and you okay, good. Did you feel a shift in your thought or your emotion, moving from?
I felt expansive. When I opened my eyes, it was brighter.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't have that, same thought in my head. It was gone, and it was really bothering me.
Okay. Okay. Good. Thanks. Okay, that's good. Is there anyone else? Yeah.
I just feel this, almost like a simultaneous lightness and groundedness.
See you later. Thank you for coming. So you felt lightness and groundedness?
I got the lightness and the groundedness.
Okay. Groundedness, both. In your system. Okay. Anyone else? Yes.
I felt like before doing physical exercise, I couldn't take a full breath in. I was breathing in, and then couldn't really fill my lungs. And then afterwards, I felt like I could really take a full breath, and it felt very calm.
Okay, so your whole system, you felt calmer because you could breathe deeper.
Yeah.
And more complete. Okay. Thank you. So what happens is, and when I made a decision to write and to do this, saying yes, to be honest, with a lot of anxiety. I feel really exposed, and that's not always comfortable. It's not comfortable. And I have a tendency of walking around my house talking to myself and tapping. All right, that's what I do. I mean, that's part of, if I get stuck on something, I walk around the house. Of course, I live alone, but I do it probably if I didn't live alone. I mean, and I just tap and talk to myself. And I found that there are times when I find the whole situation, that what I was upset about, to be really hysterical, that it's nothing I can do maybe about it, and it's just kind of like, okay, let's put it in perspective. Because I maybe like the rest of you get perseverations, and thoughts patterns keep on going, and it's like you get stuck, all right? And you want to get unstuck. And so that's something that I found myself doing, and that's the reason why I thought, okay, I'll share this little tidbit of a process, and hopefully it works. I would like to, let's see, I'm going to check and see. Part of what this does also, and it does work when individuals are in states of communication about their trauma and their uncomfortableness, allowing them to do this process even as they're talking, just to do the tapping while they are talking, it it moves it. It allows them to even have a greater sense of clarity or understanding or ownership of what's going on with themselves. Because we ultimately, we all end up having to take ownership for all of our feelings. And we have to take ownership and have what our perceptions are and what do they mean. Because if we don't take ownership, we're not going to heal. We can't. It doesn't happen that way. And so, you know, allowing ourselves to realize that the adoption wound is real. It's not something that is made up. It's real. It's the abandonment feeling. You can't escape it. That's a key difference. That's a big difference here. We just have to have methods that come in on an immediate way to interrupt the destructiveness that sometimes happens when we are feeling the emotions come up from the abandonment, from the trauma. That is really critical. And it's critical for parents to understand. Yes, Marnie?
I just have a question. I don't know if it's time for question and answer yet.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. So as someone who's like a friend of many that are in the adoption triangle, is there a way that we can be most supportive? How can we be most supportive?
It's a really good question because you realize it's really individually based. So it's really hard to make a global statement. I think from what I have experienced, one of the things that works is remaining what I would call grounded and fluid. And what I mean by that is that fluidity means that you're staying in a state of love and you're loving that individual even when they're really angry at you, even when they don't like you. It's not that they don't like you, even when they're angry or they're scared. That's the biggest key. But you got to stay fluid. Because if I leave that state and I go into fear and I get pissed off about what they're pissed off about or what they're afraid of, then all you have is two people in a state of, a fear circle. And it doesn't do any good. It's not being afraid. That's the other thing. Not being afraid of strong emotions because they are strong. Grief is really strong. Feeling really, really like cheated. Like, hey, I mean, this has happened, I mean, you didn't get it. You're not in it. It didn't happen to you. You're right. Being as impeccably honest as possible and staying grounded and fluid. Because, you know what? They see. They know. I mean, those kids, they can be 5 years old and they can have a genetic predisposition that can be really scary at 5 years old because they have a family, a legacy that is really tough, really rough. And, when mother brings in a kid who's adopted, who's really angry, and looks at you and says, okay, he just tore up his room. And when she says tore up his room, he really tore up his room. Okay? And you got to look at this and you have to talk about it. And then there's other things. You have to get to the body, and I'll talk more about that later, but that breathing and the somatic and the tapping and loving him and saying, you did a really good job, because he did. It didn't mean that it's approval, but you acknowledge the fact that that child was angry. He doesn't know. He doesn't have the language to tell you, but he's not a bad kid. You have to stay open, you have to stay fluid, and you have to stay loving. And say, there's got to be a better way. We can't keep on doing this. It's not healthy. That's the best answer that's all I can say.
I was adopted in the early 70s at 6 weeks. My parents could have never told me, but they did when I was 8, and I just chalked it up to just a fact about me. And now, in my mid-50s, looking back at things that I've struggled with, I realize, oh, that abandonment, it's an adoption wound, and it's in my body, and I gotta deal with it. But it's new to me to be looking at this in my 50s from something that happened when I was 6 weeks old. And I heard you say in the back that it's all about abandonment. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Abandonment. No, back then we didn't know anything. Okay, and I'm still all right. And they don't look at necessarily even now. I don't know how much they look at abandonment. I lots of times pick and really choose what I look at. Okay, and the reason why it's abandonment is because as a baby, all the baby knows is that they've been in this womb with this person. And it doesn't matter, it does matter, but to the baby, because the baby doesn't know, the baby doesn't understand what the parents are doing or not doing, all right? Nevertheless, the baby inside of that womb is hearing the mother's sound or hearing the people that they're around, their sound. They're feeling the energy, the internal energy, the internal smells, the internal movements, the internal activities of that mother. We all experience that. Our bodies, from a cellular structure and from a neurological development, it remembers. Now, we don't have a language for it, but it remembers. So when the baby is actually separated, 6 weeks, by the time that baby, in that 6 weeks, you had, I don't know if you're with your mother or not, but you already knew. You knew your mother. And her uniqueness, nobody else in this world has. All right? So your neurological system, your unconscious mind, your body knows it. Every adopted child does. Everybody that's born knows their mother. That's how come when you have individuals that go back, when my cousin went back to visit her family, well, there were mannerisms, there were styles that just happen, nonverbal things that happen. There's a resonance that goes on there. But your body is aware of it. So it comes, in learning about it, it requires somatic awareness. It requires sounds. It requires movement. It requires allowing yourself to begin to trust that intuitive, that hunch that comes up in a dream, or when you're walking, you're taking a walk and all of a sudden a smell comes, or there's a sound you hear and it triggers something. Because that's how the unconscious body speaks. But abandonment happens because you were separated. So one day, all of this is there, and then, whoops, it's gone. And it's gone for a long, long, long time, maybe forever. And that issue of being wounded pre-verbally, the only place it can go is in our bodies. And they're doing enough research now to understand that that's called a trauma. So it's a trauma, but it's a very unique trauma because it involves everything physical and yet nothing that appears to be abusive. Because we always look at trauma as being something that's abusive. It's not. That's not what we're trying to do. And then the trauma happens unconsciously frequently when you're trying to relate to your mother, the person who is raising you. And if you have siblings, then it becomes more complicated. And if you have, there are a number of layers that occur. And those layers, if you have your mother and you have biological siblings, I mean, she has biological children, and you're not the biological child, then how she may discipline you unconsciously may be different. It's not intentional, it's just something that happens. But there's no awareness, there's no discussion about it. That's where the harm also comes in. We close the door, we get so scared. And we don't discuss that which is scary but has to be discussed in order to allow for healing. So the goal is to heal. The goal is not to carry the woundedness for the rest. And it doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter what age the healing starts. That's the whole point for all of us. You know, I had a client who was never told that she was adopted. This is a story. She was never told she was adopted. She was at school one day, and a teacher who knew the parents and knew the situation mentioned to her that she was adopted. The teacher didn't know. It was innocent. The parents never told her. And they then couldn't understand, because she had been a model student, she was this bright, beautiful girl. They couldn't understand why she was so upset. So they bring her in for therapy, and it was like, okay, helping her understand and manage her own rage and her own level of denial, because where is this girl going to go? She's 14 years old. She loved her parents because they had done so much for her and yada, yada, and she really thought she was their biological child, and then all of a sudden she realizes she's not. A whammy, a shock, you know, it was like, and the parents, they couldn't understand. And for me, trying to explain to them, how could you not understand, was definitely challenging. Yes, Karen. Yeah.
Bravo to you for doing this. I think that the sooner we can learn about primal wound, the better. And for me as an adopted mom, discovering when I have 6 biological and 2 adopted, when I discovered the primal wound, they were, I don't know, 12, 13. And it was like a light went on in my head in all of everything, because it made sense to me. The 2 girls have different stories, but it made sense to me in a weird way, because it doesn't make sense. And so it's not only adopted babies, it's NICU babies as well. As soon as you're taken from your mother,
Yeah.
there is this primal wound. And so it is very important, the family education piece that you speak of, the sooner that can happen, I think that should be top of your list. It's at the bottom. Because, and this is why I'm so excited for this, because this is so important to know about the primal wound. Because for me as her adopted mom, I know my role. I know we're not going to connect like my bio kids.
Never.
And it gives you space. And it allows you to be in that place of, okay, she's not even aware of what she's going through. And she needs a therapist. And that is where you can be the best parent you can be, when you bring in a professional that can work with them on the unknown of the primal wound. It's really, really important. The book, The Primal Wound,
Yeah.
it took them 15 years to write that book because it was their own experience, and it's fascinating. So bravo to you to put it back on the stage again. It's been there, there's been.
No, yes, that book it's a classic, and yes, it's very good. And she also has another book to follow up on
Right.
that. Okay, that is really, really true. Yes.
But I think the greatest ways to support are to be a good listener, which is hard when you're a parent and you're disciplining and reacting, but to be that good listener and to completely love unconditionally, which sounds a lot easier said than done.
Definitely.
But it's these expectations that we can put on our kids that sometimes don't serve them well because they're not ready, and they have to be ready to receive. And if there's this primal wound that's there and they don't know how to receive and they haven't approached that piece of them, they're never going to be ready for what potential they could have.
The problem that comes into play is that doing therapy and communicating is with individuals or families that are related to and are involved with adoption, is that it's a challenge to facilitate the connection lots of times and the understanding, because the parent, and frequently it's the mother, whether I like it or not, the mother says, I love them, I care about them, and they can't understand that the resonance might not be there. And it may never be there. This is the other thing. I think it's an illusion to believe that just because we have parents that raise children and they love them, and they're adopted, that the resonance is going to be there. What happens is you don't necessarily always have to have what you're calling the resonance. You have to have the respect and understanding that the resonance might not be there, and you still can have a relationship, and the relationship changes significantly. It's a different relationship then.
I was saying I just had an aha moment when Karen mentioned my son was in the NICU.
Mm-hmm.
You know my son. And what came up right away for me was shame.
Mm-hmm.
I failed him. My body failed
That's
him.
exactly where you don't want to go.
Well, obviously, nobody wants to go to shame. But I do know that from my other friends that are in that adoption triangle, that that word comes up
Yes.
a lot. And so I wanted to know if you could speak to that.
Oh, shame.
Sorry.
No, shame. Oh my God. Everybody has shame. And the best way that I can really talk about shame is give you an example. And it was a therapist, a really, really good therapist, that mentioned this. And she says there's a big difference between guilt and shame. Okay? You have 2 glasses of milk. You got a lump of chocolate, and it goes into 1 glass of milk. That's called guilt. All right? I'm guilty. I can pick it up, I look at what I'm guilty about, and I can deal with it. I can take it aside, I can examine it, I can really, really easily heal it. Not really easily, but lots better than you can do shame. Because when you have shame, you have a glass of milk, but you got chocolate syrup. And you're pouring the chocolate syrup in the milk, and then you stir it. And the trouble is, that chocolate milk is pervasive. It's in every single cell of your body. Shame is insidious, and it is deadly. Shame is, yes, where we go to, because it's also in our bodies. And frequently for women, it's located in their pelvic area. It's a whole host of being stuck. And what happens frequently we get knowledge. We talk about, this happens, and they're unavoidable situations. Kid's going to die if he doesn't go to the NICU. My kid had jaundice and had to go into the NICU. I don't care how much I stayed at the hospital, she was still in the NICU, all right? But the issue of shame is you couldn't do anything. You couldn't change it. So that shame, you cook into shame, but it goes to something that's deeper, something else that happened, something else that's been said, something else, and sometimes it's in our culture, sometimes it's in a system that we're in. And we have to start identifying it and start looking at it and talking about it. There's a whole host of areas we don't talk about in terms of adoption that I'm not going to discuss tonight, but that have to be looked at because they evoke and provoke shame. And it happens. That's the reason why, one of the areas is you don't use sarcasm. You don't use it because it doesn't work. It causes shame. So that's a great question. Yes, it has to be addressed.
I think part of what you're trying to do is flipping the script, and what I hope that you can do is flip the script that the NICU was there to save your son.
Yep.
And that becomes the gift in that moment. Because in a third world country, there's no NICU, and this is not happening. So flipping the script on discovering this in your 50s and now having the knowledge of people that love you that can support you through an evolution of finding yourself and the best version of yourself. It all makes sense now, right? There's a light bulb. The primal wound is very real. And so for you to flip the script for you now, to say,
okay.
And I think that's what you're trying to do.
What I'm really looking at, and I think it is flipping, there's an area that goes one step further, all right? And that area is called transformation. And I haven't talked about that a whole lot. But that is addressed. Transformation is really being able to take the woundedness, being able to take the abandonment, being able to take the shame, and you transform it. And that's the reason why you go to your heart. I mean, this is just the little tip of the iceberg. What can I say? But when you transform it, you transmute it, and it becomes wisdom and understanding. When something is wisdom and understanding, it is power. Power. And it's a power that aligns with yourself. And it's a power that makes you unwavering. That's the difference. Transmutation takes that energy, and once it's transmuted, you may have a flash, but you're not going to go back in the rabbit hole. That's the difference. And transformation is real. I see it in my office. I see it with those kids. I see it with the parents. A lot of my parents don't like me all the time. I mean, she's laughing. That's the truth. I am not somebody that placates. And it's not that I don't make mistakes. I do. Yes, it is humbling sometimes. But what I also know is that transformation is where we've got to go. That's got to be the goal. That's got to be the understanding. Because the woundedness of this primal wound is killing amazingly talented and beautiful people. And it generally falls on women. Why? Because we bear the children. That's the issue here. And that's the challenge. So that's the reason why I'm going to bring it full circle. When I was in India, I had a choiceless choice. Either I shaved my head or I didn't. And so I made the choice of shaving my head, my hair, because it allowed me to make a decision to give a really new birth to a sense of myself. That's what transformation is. Giving birth to a whole new sense of who you are, how you be. And whatever happened in the past, that's the past. And so, I just want to say to everybody, all of you, thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your questions, your attentiveness, and your being. Okay, there are little heart stones on the table over there. Please take them. All right? And enjoy.
When is the book going to be ready?
When's the book? Okay, Karen, thank you. I love you. Karen, I love you, okay? All right. It'll probably be, Karen, oh, hang on. It'll be done. It's here. I'm getting it. It is happening. Yes.
And would you like to interview people?
Oh, I didn't say that. It's my fault. Yeah. Any of you that would be willing to communicate with me, I would really like to do that. To be able to communicate and have your stories. I mean, you have amazing stories. And, you know, my stories are from the therapeutic sense. Your stories might be from your life sense. And so, thank you. If you'd be willing to, I'd really appreciate that.